And welcome back to the Buckle Up Podcast universe with Brandon Rush and Mama Rush. If you don't know me, I am actor Brandon Rush that has been in 81 TV shows and movies. And my mother, Mama Rush, is a pharmaceutical specialist in sales. So we are having today, we're going to have Mark Warren on here from Vai Dai Coffee to talk about his product. And I absolutely love it. I've been drinking it the last couple of days and I'm really enjoying it. But if this is your first time coming to the show, we have people from all different backgrounds, whatever it might be, from actors, directors, CEOs, brands have come on here. We have military, veterans, producers, doctors, nurses. So if you have a story that you think might resonate with us, we are more than happy to have you on here. We have 18.8 million viewers and listeners in 76 countries and 868 cities around the world. And with that being said, we're about to let Mark on right now. All righty. Mark, what
Sure.
is going on, my friend?
Uh, Good afternoon.
Good afternoon as well. I first off, I'm going to welcome you to the Buckle Up Podcast universe with Brandon Rush and
Mama Rush.
Thanks for having me.
yeah, thanks for coming on. And today we have Mark Warren. That's how you pronounce it, correct? Mark Warren?
Yes.
Perfect, perfect. Mark, will you do me a favor? Will you please say the exact name of how you pronounce it to make sure I've been saying it right?
You've been spot on. It's Vai Dai.
Oh my gosh, Vai Dai. Mark, thank you so much for sending this, for you all and your team sending this care package. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, that's the goal. I mean, for us, everything's always been a passion project. Before this, we did wine and we, broke the category. It was kind of boring. It wasn't, a lot out there that was in the right price point for clean wine. And we look
Yeah,
at coffee the same way. Like coffee's kind of the OG energy drink.
yeah.
It's boring. There's nothing out there. There's been no innovation. There's been machines and whatever, which I'm not a big fan of. But and now if you see guys or companies like Starbucks trying to add in pre or probiotics, which to me is baffling. Won't get into the negatives of what that can do to your body. Uh,
Yeah.
but we wanted something that was brain fuel, not this metabolic spike, not some of the negative things that can be in energy drinks. It was more about, long-term brain fuel that you can drink every day that delivers real results. So that was our goal. And it
Well,
has to
Mark,
be good.
oh, sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, no, sorry, go.
I just want to say, like, so the first day I got it, I tried it and I was like, man, I'm feeling more like I was more aware or like more just I felt like I was really on my game, like I was really concentrated and I was not tired. Like it's crazy. Like 'cause usually I hate to say it, but with coffee that I've been drinking in the past, I
Mhm.
haven't been able to be like I just drink it, it doesn't really do much. But this I was actually pepped up and ready to go the rest of the day.
Yeah, I mean, that was the idea. I mean, it took us a while. So, Tom and I have been working together for a couple of decades. This is our third company.
Oh,
Uh,
amazing.
our last company was called Fit Vine Wine. I mean, there's really not much you can do with wine, been made the same for 3,000 years. We just didn't use
Yeah.
additives and kept sugar down. This required like real scientific work. So we brought in our chief scientist, Dr. Suk Cho, who's been at this for a few decades, making
Okay.
products for companies like Isogenics, Melaleuca. So it took real work to take the adaptogens and nootropics and make we wanted something that was, that worked, but also that drove, a functionality that was, you know, not compromising to what it could do to your body. So,
Yeah.
some of these things out there, they mix into drinks, long-term effects, kind of questionable. All the ingredients we used have decades of research, no negative impacts. I mean, we've got one of our athletes who's a type 1 diabetic, zero spike in the sugar. So
Really.
this does not hit you metabolically, whether you drink it in the morning, the afternoon. I take it as a pre-workout. The idea was that, like you said, laser focus, but
Yeah.
steady energy. So it's not that spike up, spike down,
Mhm.
which then that's what people tend to like, oh, I need more caffeine and go grab something else. And it just isn't good for your body. So the adaptogens and the nootropics in there really balance out the caffeine because the caffeine is 200 milligrams per bottle, which is 2 shots of espresso. But it takes it in a nice steady form that was the idea. Like it hits your brain, laser focus, no jitters, no like crash after the fact, and then
Mhm.
not late at night, you're like, wired off the wall where you can't fall asleep. So a lot of thought was put into it to make sure that it delivered what we were looking for.
Absolutely, absolutely. Where? All right. So here's my question. With you deciding to get into coffee, because you said you were at wine first,
Mhm.
where did the idea just come from one day? I know you kind of touched on it before, but like just one day, you're like, you guys, you know what, man? I'm looking for a new challenge, and I think coffee might be it. Like, how did that even come about?
Yeah, I mean, coffee was our second passion. I mean, I've been drinking coffee since I was a kid. My mother's side of the family is Italian, and my stepfather was Sicilian. So, I mean, we've
Okay.
had espresso since we were kids.
Yeah.
Probably not good. But I mean, always loved coffee. But, it was, I mean, I've been in fitness my whole life. Tom was a hockey player.
Okay.
As you get older, you got to take more vitamins and, your body gets banged up and, you're trying to keep the same energy level. And we're sitting in his kitchen. And, I'd always have my baggie, whether I'm traveling to do whatever, and there's 40, 50 vitamins there. And he's like, the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
He's like, there's got to be a better way. I'm like, I agree. And,
Yeah.
you guys like Joe Rogan and this and that, always talking about how can we hack our brain? We want to
Yeah.
be, more alert and, always a cheat code. Is there something out there that can help us that's not detrimental to the body? I mean, there's obviously guys that go way past that take other things to try and
Yeah.
really hit their brain. So it was, looking at those things that could we get this in something that was, combining our efforts of like supplementation and a
Hmm.
drink. And this is not a supplement, it's a beverage. It's not,
Yeah.
we're not sitting under that supplement realm, but it was the idea of kind of that blend. Could coffee work harder for you?
Mhm.
That, instead of like gulping down these horrible pills, and
Seriously.
you never know like the efficacy of those pills or what the right dosage is and this and that. So instead of sitting there trying to play scientists with their own vitamins, that was
Yeah.
the thought process. Like, we love coffee. Can we make it taste good? And can we make it really functional? Because we've tried 35, 40 products out there. A lot of them
Okay.
are good. Yeah. I mean, some of them have like this weird medicinal taste or
No.
aftertaste. And, even cold brew. My wife, she won't drink black coffee. She's like, I don't like that bitterness. So, we wanted the taste to be there that people are like, wow, this tastes amazing. And then, oh, wow, it works. So that
Yeah.
was kind of our thought process. And, selfishly, what we wanted for ourselves, just like when we built the wine company, it was something
Mhm.
we were looking for. And we're like, well, if we want it, there has to be other people out there that do as well.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you all have a winner here. I absolutely say like from the day I started drinking it, which thank you for sending the products too, but from the day I touched it, I've been drinking this every single morning. And thing is, I only need a little bit, and then I'm good to go for the whole entire day. I drink like it probably takes me 2 days to finish the whole entire bottle.
I drink like three a day.
Oh wow, it is that good.
And yesterday, we had an event in New York City, and
Okay.
I've recently moved to Miami, but we still have a house in Boston that where you can see yellow tags behind me of what's
Yeah.
where. So Tom and I, he's in Newport, Rhode Island, drove from Boston into Rhode Island and then to New York and turned around, came back the same day. So it was, one
Oh
of the
wow.
20-hour days. So yeah, probably had three bottles yesterday. Uh,
Understandable.
but by the time I got home at 1:30 in the morning, I was able to put my head down and go to sleep. So it wasn't like I was wired and here I am today, like, oh my God, I haven't slept in, 30 hours. So
Yeah.
it's and for us, it's a responsible formula. I mean, that's a big thing is, I've got young kids that, about to turn 19 and 24. I've
Congratulations.
all different types of sports. I did martial arts for decades. I've
Okay.
coached that. I've coached CrossFit, football, baseball. And even, when the kids are AYF football and you've got,
Yeah.
13, 14-year-old kid and they're pounding a Gatorade, in the Northeast, you can still have 90-degree days in September when you're playing
Yeah.
football. My
Yeah.
running back takes off for a 60-yard run, comes out and he's puking on the sideline.
Yeah.
What are you doing? I had a Gatorade. I'm like, it's all sugar. You
Yeah.
put that in your body, spike your insulin, go sprint down with all your pads on, and there's
Yeah.
a reaction. So, not that we're trying to have teenagers drink our stuff, but unfortunately, teenagers and high schoolers as well drink energy drinks and all these
They
things,
do.
and they're not good for you. Uh,
Yeah.
one of our athletes we just signed is Bella Mir,
Okay.
Frank Mir's daughter, who used
Oh
to
wow.
fight in the UFC. Well known for beating Brock Lesnar. So she's
Yeah.
top wrestler in the country, also top BJJ, hopefully on a path to the UFC.
Mhm.
And that was what she said. She's like, my dad's been screaming at me, my mom's screaming at me because I drink energy drinks and get on the mat for a couple hours.
Yeah.
She found the coffee and she's like, oh my God, this is a game changer because it doesn't hit your insulin in your body in that form where
Absolutely.
out there on the mat and competing or doing whatever for a couple of hours that you can't have that spike whether it's just sugar or the other things they're putting in some of these drinks that
Yeah,
are really
absolutely.
bad for your kidneys, your liver. So that was part of our thought process is like, can we do this in a way that's responsible
Hmm.
that anybody could pick it up? And it's not, oh, now what's the long-term effect of this?
Absolutely. Go ahead, mom. You're good.
Well, I want to tell you, I tasted the drink and it is a wonderful taste. I love coffee. I've been drinking coffee since I was, I think, a baby. My parents gave us coffee, and it never got me into jumping off the walls or anything. And my children always had coffee. I put half coffee and milk for them in their bottles, and they loved it. But I want to tell you, I really love the taste of this coffee. And it has a smooth taste. And I felt steady the whole day when I drank it. I just felt a steady, calm, getting things done. Nothing like they say on those energy drinks, jumping off the board, the wall, or anything. And it's whatever you've put together. I think it's great. It is great flavor, and it does keep me focused. And I didn't feel like I'd had espresso and didn't jump up during the middle of the night like you mentioned earlier. So I tell you right now, you have a winner in that product. And I want to ask you, what was your biggest hurdle going through that idea to manufacture and distribution of that product? What was that whole process like for you? Because you have a winner on your hands.
Well, thank you very much. I'll give you a little feedback on your first part and then answer your question. So, taste wise, there's a couple of components. The beans were obviously the biggest one. So we have a
Mm-hmm,
every blend. We don't actually disclose. So we use three different regions, but they're all hand-picked Arabica beans, but
mm-hmm,
they're medium roast. So, beans like chocolate and other things, different regions, different blends can have, different bitterness or strength. So we
mm-hmm,
spent a lot of time tasting a lot of different coffees because, we wanted to have its potency but taste good. We didn't want it to be like you mentioned, drinking straight espresso. That's not always what people like, or it's too strong or too bitter. As well as when you add in the things like ashwagandha and Thai ginger and lion's mane, those on their own can have bitterness to them. So
mm-hmm,
that's why there's a little stevia and monk fruit in them, and there's a proprietary blend of which strands of those to help give that smoothness. And then, there's a little phosphate in there, which is salt, that helps offset the acidity. So the coffee is low acid because coffee can be very acidic,
mm-hmm,
which gives you that bitterness or bothers your stomach or other things to people. So that's where Dr. Sook really his expertise in bringing those things together in the right formula in a responsible way. So that
mm-hmm,
taste has to be primary. At the end of the day, like, oh, this is good for me, this and that. If you taste it, you're like, God, this is awful. And you feel like you have to like really, as a kid, and you're like, eat your broccoli. And you're like, no, mom, I don't want to. It doesn't taste
mm-hmm,
good. It's that kind of thing. So taste had to come first. So he did a
mm-hmm,
fantastic job working with Tom and I on that to make sure all the ingredients balanced out so that we drove, taste first, functionality second. Uh,
mm-hmm,
Manufacturing and getting to a point, it was harder than the wine. It was,
Oh yeah, listening.
yeah, it was tough. One of our biggest components is the glass. So our bottle is glass, and almost
mm-hmm,
every product you find out there today is plastic or cans. And we know the
mm-hmm,
possible harmful effects of plastic. Cans can sometimes be lined with plastic, let alone we feel like, the aluminum itself with a can, change the taste of the coffee. Like it has an impact of like almost like tinniness or something to the taste.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Mhm.
Glass is the cleanest delivery mechanism we could bring forth so that it's not negatively impacting the coffee. But it was hard. There's not a lot of people who still do beverage in glass. And then part of that glass is then finding glass to do what's called a retort process. So the coffee goes through pasteurization, so that it's shelf ready and shelf stable. So there's no microbiome, organisms or anything like that in there that can make you sick. So it's shelf stable for 2 years. So you have to find glass that's capable of that and the lids and all that other stuff. So that was our largest challenge. It took us almost a year
mm-hmm,
to
Oh wow. Okay.
find teams that A had the glass, B did glass because you can find glass for ketchups and all these other things, but
mm-hmm,
that process is done ahead of time and then it's hot filled. So to find what we had to do with the coffee and put that together was difficult. I mean, that was probably our hardest challenge. I mean, we were ready to go probably 7 months before we
Hmm.
launched because of issues with glass.
Okay.
So that was probably our hardest challenge, um, product wise, as far as like
Hmm.
manufacturing.
Oh,
Okay.
with that said, what does your quality system look like when you're talking about sourcing, testing, and safety?
Yeah, so that's, we're all everything's FDA approved, so our facility's all FDA approved. We
Mm-hmm.
source with the right buyers for our beans that are, go through all the, responsibility checks,
Mm-hmm.
farmers and doing the right thing so that we're not uh going down the paths of some of these farmers that unfortunately don't get taken care of. And then the ingredients, I mean, all our nootropics and adaptogens are as highest quality as you can get. I mean, it's like our Thai ginger is
Mm-hmm.
is the most expensive ingredient we have in there.
Oh, wow.
The top ingredient we get. So,
Wow.
we didn't, and that's kind of reflective in its price.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't cut corners on any ingredients because unfortunately, you start doing that, if you focus on bottom line first, you're not delivering the right product. So, we wanted to focus on efficacy and it really working. And, that's reflective of the price. I mean, it's the quality is there. It's super premium. All the ingredients are super premium. And it's potent in the fact of, like you mentioned, you're not getting that spike or crash, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
it's a calming energy, like you said. It's a perfect
Yeah.
for it, and that's the balance of like the ashwagandha. Like Thai ginger is meant for like high energy. Ashwagandha is like a calming thing, so they balance each other out with the caffeine because caffeine by itself can spike you. So that's the kind of the formula that we wanted, that it was like brain power. We're looking
Okay.
for that where it's like nice, steady energy, not and it's no matter what age you are, whether you're a teenager, our age, your age, one of our good friends and neighbors, she's an ex-Olympian. She's 76 years old and plays tennis 3 times a day. And
Holy smokes.
she's as competitive as you can get with tennis. And she's like, I only play with young guys. I don't want anybody to slow me down. And with all due grace, she's like, I can see the fur on the tennis ball. I'm like, Wendy, I don't know if it's that, but she doesn't come off the court like grabbing her heart, like, oh my God, I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack. She loves
Yeah.
it. She feels like whether she's in the boardroom or she's on the tennis court, like it keeps her really focused. So that was the kind of the responsibility piece that we were talking about, as far as no matter who grabs that bottle, we're confident that it's not going to have some sort of negative impact on them that's could be dangerous with that you have with some of these beverages.
That's great. That's
Mark,
great.
oh, sorry. Mark, I like that you all, and I'm not sure if that has to do with you. I know that you said that you're a father. I'm not sure. You said Tom's your partner?
Yes.
I'm not sure if that comes from you. I'm not sure if he's a parent as well, but if he is, amazing. But I think that from you being from a first off a parent and then also a coach, I think you said at one point, and you all raising these kids, you're also looking for the benefit. And then you've been an athlete yourself growing up. Hey, like I want to make sure that my kid's taking something, or the people that are you're being very conscious of who is taking it and what the effects are, which I think is amazing because so many people take pre-workouts.
Mm.
They take out, and I always would feel I don't take pre-workouts anymore because I always feel a stinginess in my
Yeah.
skin.
Yeah.
And then even with people that are being on prescriptions to study in college a lot of times, which is awful, or even in high school. So I'd like that this is something that is natural that you can take to not have to resort to those other things. And hopefully the more people find out about Vai Dai coffee, they'll know that, hey, this is something, a substitute that does the same thing, but on a healthier level, I feel like.
Yeah, and that's the goal. And you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, it's, for us, no matter what it is, I mean, even with just whey protein, it's there's you go buy your jug bottle at Costco or BJ's, flip that thing around and it's loaded with sugars and fillers or whatever that are just not
Mhm.
good. Like we won't give our kids that. And unfortunately, to buy top quality, you're paying double or triple the price. But and if you're a competitive athlete, some of those things, for a decade I spent in CrossFit, and my wife's a chiropractor, and she used to, treat the top athletes in the country that were world champions and stuff. There was whey proteins that were flagging them in drug tests
Oh
because
yeah.
Mhm.
stuff in there, and that same it's just as strict as the U.S. Olympic Committee. So I don't want my kids consuming stuff like that. If it's flagging inside something as strict as the U.S. Olympic Committee or CrossFit and stuff like that, it shouldn't be in there. So
Absolutely.
that's the same thing. Like we looked at our ingredients and we don't want anything in there that's, if it's flagging, that means somebody's saying, hey, this is probably not good for you. I mean, we've heard
Absolutely.
rumblings even on the private equity side that some of the firms have stopped looking at beverages that have particular ingredients in them,
Really.
like carnitine or arginine. Like they're just by themselves are okay. You start blending these things together, and they're finding that two or three of these ingredients mixed negatively impact your kidneys, your liver. Like just that's the kind of stuff we don't want to touch.
Absolutely.
There's
Right.
other ingredients that, and of course they cost more money. So you choose your poison of what you want. It's either you start with responsibility of formula and taste and everything else, or you start with profit. And
Absolutely.
that's not our goal. I mean, obviously we're here to make money and we want to build a business, but we wanted to do it in a sense that we don't want to call a year from now like, hey, I've been taking this and now my doctor's telling me X. That
Yeah.
because that would be to me like one of the worst things I could ever hear.
Absolutely.
Or if that was my own sons drinking it and they're like, oh, now dad, I've got something wrong.
Yeah.
So that was,
Mhm.
it's always been in our mindset of like, can we deliver products that people love and taste good, but we feel confident that they're good for you and not going to have any kind of negative impact on you.
Absolutely. You
Great.
have a good soul and ethical. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
Yes. Could you tell me how long Vai Dai has been on the market? And then with that, your core customers and how do you serve them?
So we just launched at the end of October,
Oh, congratulations.
Oh,
starting on
okay.
Amazon. So kind of how we built our wine business is we started via just direct to consumer on social media and doing lots of events,
Okay.
right
Okay.
everywhere, whether we were in CrossFit gyms, yoga studios, mud runs. We'd go to Lululemon. They'd have like a VIP night on a Sunday and we're pouring wine. So
Uh-huh.
and then, the consumer, started going into stores and, demanding they carry it. And Whole Foods called us. So that's kind of how we took the path with our wine. Similar here. I mean, with Amazon obviously has a huge uh platform. We didn't have the ability to use Amazon with the wine. So, we get the ability to reach 350 million plus people. So
Mhm.
our goal is drive the business in virality using social media, TikTok Shop, Amazon, and then go to retailers. So the goal in the next 9 to 12 months would be starting to enter stores, um, and go from there.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. That sounds great.
Mark, had a question for you. So we have 18.8 million viewers and listeners around the world in 76 countries in 868 cities around the world.
Oh,
The reason I mention that is because of something you just said here about where you're with Amazon. So where in the world do you guys ship outside the United States to? If you don't know the full list, that's okay. But do you guys ship out of the United States yet?
no.
Okay.
So Amazon has the ability in other countries, but it's built out as separate platforms. And then, especially food and beverage, those have to get approved and sometimes manufactured in those other countries. So, lofty goals, yes, a later date, we'd like to say we will launch. We did it with the wine. We got the wine into Canada and
Okay.
South America. With Amazon, we like the ability that, you know, I'll say a couple of years from now, we start expanding via Amazon into the EU and other areas, but to
Okay.
start, it will just be the United States.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I was asking because we're in all these countries, and once they hear about it, they're gonna be like, "Wait, hold, what is this stuff? I want some of it." Mark, I want to get more into. Let's find out about you, man. So you're originally from Massachusetts.
Yes.
If you wouldn't mind, I want our customers to get, or your customers and our customers and our audience to get to know you personally as well. So you're originally from Massachusetts. How does a kid from Massachusetts, your life going to where you are now? How does that? Tell it to me, brother.
Not the traditional path.
Okay.
Born and raised Central Massachusetts. School wasn't my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I got into Taekwondo when I was, God, almost 13
Mhm.
and fell in love with it. I was doing that 6 days a week, 6 hours a night. Became very competitive, competed in full contact for 10 years or so.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and I had that was like, tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And, my master could tell you to, jump off a building and be like, how high? Which one?
Yeah.
School, I couldn't, I don't know. School just didn't follow in that same suit for me. I was, always had my brain running more entrepreneurial. So
Yeah.
bounced around to a few state schools, didn't finish college. Um, from there, I was married my first time very young. I was 23.
Okay.
I was 26. My oldest son, Nico, was born. Um, and bounced around to a few different industries, but always kind of entrepreneurial. I was in tech for a while, and that's where I met Tom. Tom and I
Okay.
at a startup, God, almost 20 years ago, uh,
Mm.
and left there, started our own company because it was the first time I was ever forced to work in a cubicle. And I'm
Yeah.
like a
Mm.
caged animal. I'm like, this isn't going to go well.
Yeah.
I'm very hyper and like very used to moving at 100 miles an hour. And I'm like, I can't sit at a desk and look at a computer and pick up a phone like this. So, that led us to start our first company. Lovely during the '08 crash. So that
Okay.
was fun. We
Yeah.
weaseled our way through that for 4 years somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sold it. And then while, the company who bought it, we were on board with them because they were a mix of like marketing, product, technology. We started Fitvine. So that was our wine company, Fitvine Wine. We launched that in 2015. And it was, kind of our own selfish reason for wine. Most wine under $20, and that's the majority of what's sold in the United States, has a
Mhm.
ton of junk in it. I mean, they allow 76 different additives. There's a ton of
Mm.
sugar. You can't add sugar, but you can add concentrate, which is basically liquid sugar.
Okay.
The most common things is mega purple because they want that deep dark color of a $10 bottle of wine to look like a $100 bottle. Uh,
Mhm.
but a lot of people get negative impacts from it, especially females as they age. My wife is one of them. She have a couple glasses of wine. She's like, I can't get my ring off. She's like, her hands
Hmm.
would swell.
Mm.
Or people get headaches, GI issues, and it would, as we dug into it, we'd find is kind of a blend of like additives, too many sulfites, all these other things could be in there. So like, well, what if we made a wine that was uber clean? I mean, it's still alcohol, so it's kind of an oxymoron, but that tasted good
Yeah.
and didn't have all the stuff. So we launched it. We thought we were targeting kind of the weekend warrior, the, kind of tier two athlete that, may have played college ball, but now does like mud runs and CrossFit or Ironman. And we somehow stumbled into the yoga mom and they went crazy for the brand. They literally were going into Whole Foods and like yelling at Whole Foods, like, why don't you have this? And that kind of, exploded the brand. We took it to retail, got it to 40,000 locations,
Mm.
raised some capital, sold the company. So that's
Hey.
kind of the shortened version of the last couple of decades.
Well,
Wow.
Mark, oh, sorry, Mama, if you're gonna say something, unless I can go.
Yeah, go ahead. Keep on going. And
Mark, I just want to say one thing. You have a genius level to you. Well, you might not feel like that, but you do have a genius level to you because I like when geniuses are they're never comfortable in situation where they can feel like they can keep doing something. So you have a very creative mind. So one of the things I heard you say was the fact that yes, school wasn't your route. That school wasn't the route for Mark Zuckerberg either. But you went into I think you first said you did a tech company. You're like, you know what? Cubicle's not for me because your mind's always active. You're very personable. I can tell that you went and started your own company with a friend of yours. I think was it Tom that you started the company with?
Yep.
So you and Tom were like the dynamic duo here. You decided to do this company. Apparently, you're pretty successful at whatever your side tech company that you got. That the company wanted to buy you out. So you won at one. I say you won at Lifetime already, having your first company bought out. They asked you to stay on to kind of help with the transition. Then you switch over to wine. Try, hey, you know what? Let's try this now. We did tech. Let's try wine. You end up being successful in the wine avenue too. It seems like, and then now you're doing coffee. I mean, I'd say if you have some lottery numbers you want to tell me about, man, I'm down to play 'em.
Well, you simplify it in a way that sounds amazing. Unfortunately, the path of entrepreneurship doesn't, lead,
Tough.
lead that way. It's not always fun. It's a roller coaster. And, I'd have to say the biggest component, I was remarried and, my current wife, she's amazing. She's an ex-Ironman triathlete.
Okay.
Mm.
That's a huge component, like your support system, because it's a roller coaster. And
Yeah.
many highs as there are, there's twice as many lows.
Absolutely.
Especially, the tech company was during the '08 crash, which was
Yeah.
really not a fun time. Wine, I'll give you an example. I mean, and we started the company in 2015. 2018, we raised capital.
Yeah.
It was just Tom and I. We had a handful of people working for us as contractors, so we had no
Mhm.
employees. Um, but we managed to raise money kind of through our consigliere, friends and family kind of thing, and we refused to give up equity. I mean, we paid $900,000 in interest in 2018.
Mm.
Holy smokes.
We were factoring, we borrowed from companies like Cabbage, PayPal, Shopify, whatever, just because once we hit retail, the brand went vertical.
Yeah.
And just the time of accounts payable and accounts receivable, it was impossible to stay ahead of it. So, we had a lot of money. I had six figures on credit cards. My wife was ready to kill me. She's like, carrying debt. I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine. We'll pay it off.
Yeah.
We raised capital. We paid it all off in 24 hours. All the credit card companies shut off our cards for 3 weeks because they thought it was fraud.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I've literally went on like within 2 hours, I paid off all the credit cards that was well into the six figures. They shut them all down for 3 weeks because they thought there was something fraudulent. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you guys, what are you doing?" They're like, "Yeah, that's not normally how this goes. Yeah, because you want to collect your interest for everyone's lifetime." So it's
Yeah.
it's a wild ride. I'd say you mentioned, Tom, we are a dynamic duo. I mean, we can't be any more yin and yang.
Hmm.
His brain is definitely more that creative side of the brain. I'm more operational and sales. So, we fight like brothers,
Yeah.
but we always have the same end goal, which makes us work well together because, our visions can be polar opposite as far as kind of where we're going.
Yeah.
Somehow they always end up pointing in the same direction. So it's worked well for
Absolutely.
us because, partnerships are tough. It's like a marriage. And,
Yeah.
when we raised capital for FitFind, unfortunately, that was, you know, not the best partnership. The team, we met a family office out of Kansas City, good people, but they had never been in consumer products. They had never been in alcohol. Their background was much different and they were used to seeing businesses grow at 1% that were, different type of businesses. Consumer products, it's marketing. It's a lot of
Yeah.
money. I mean, look at Apple, the number one consumer product company in the world. You never see them slow on advertising.
Yeah.
So, that's tough. So Tom and I somehow, if this is our third company together, weathered the storm together and a lot of ups and downs. So it's a test to our friendship and our loyalty to each other and trust each
Absolutely.
other because it's tough. But we enjoy doing it. As much as it can be stressful, it is fun. You know, creating products that people fall in love with, and
Yeah.
we would constantly get stories that people call us and be like, "Oh, I hadn't drank wine in 15 years. Now I can enjoy a glass. It helps me relax, whatever." So same thing with the coffee. If we
Yeah.
can have people to say, "Oh, I put down an energy drink, I feel better. It helps me focus." Whether it's school, work, sports, that's awesome. I mean, that's why
Absolutely.
we do it. Is hopefully people fall in love with it and bring it to more people. Like hopefully one day we can reach all your customers around the world.
Hey, that's the goal. Mark, I like you, man. I like you a lot. And I like Tom because I'm inspired by you. I kid you not. I'm inspired just from what you said. And I'm so glad we've gone down that route with that because you said that you guys were up to what, $900,000 in debt. That's almost $1 million there.
Oh,
Anybody?
that was interest. That wasn't the debt.
Oh,
That's
The debt was much
goodness.
higher. That was just
yeah.
interest payments we paid in 2018.
But it's good for like I want people to hear that because sometimes people get at the end of their rope and they're like, oh man, I can't find my way out of this. And sometimes they take a way out that is just awful. And here it is that you guys saw all that, but you had the faith in each other. You had your wife as well and your family. And what else kept you going during that time? Because I mean, you're seeing this thing, you're like, Lord, I know it's going to work. Because a lot of times when you're starting a business, as you have seen, it's not going to be going as well as you want to at first. So you guys accumulated all this debt, but in one night, person, your life changed, your partner's life changed, and it proved the fact that you can do it. But what kept you kind of going? Was it your faith? Was it what?
Yeah, I mean, faith is a big part of it. You have to believe that, whether it's God or whomever your faith may be, but, you've got a higher power that gives you, some vision. But our customers, I mean, I run all the social media and, with FitFind at the time, I mean, we would have six, seven, 800 comments a day,
Oh, wow.
emails, whatever, phone calls. And so,
Mhm.
it was them telling us, like, we love your product, we'll help you, whatever you can do. We had a group of ladies in Alaska that it was so hard to get it up there, but they were buying as like a small neighborhood. And one
Really?
would buy, and she's like, well, I'll get it shipped to my house and I'll give it all out. Like, it was
Mhm.
just crazy to us. And people were like that ecstatic about the brand. So that's where, we kept pushing. We're like, okay, if people really like the brand this much,
Mhm.
we can find a way to get over the hurdles of cash flow. And that's what it was, we needed cash flow to, continue to push the growth because, I mean, for 3 years, we were the fastest growing wine brand in the United States.
Holy smokes.
Inside of liquor stores, there's I think 15,800 brands, and inside a grocery is like 14,500, and we were top 100 in both. And we moved from just better for you into being like a top 100 mainstream brand. So, like 70 something percent of the wine in the United States is sold by four companies. So, competition it's like trying to fight Nike. You know,
Yeah, that's
it's
what I was
not,
gonna say.
yeah, it's not a fun fight. So, with the consumers that were really in love with the product and helping drive the business, that's where we're like, okay, we've got to find a path there. I mean, if the product wasn't selling, people are like, I'll just save sugar elsewhere. You got to know when, something's not working. You
Yeah,
can't, keep pushing a rock uphill and there's no sunlight up there. So
absolutely.
that's what kind of gave us the fight to keep going is our customers were loyal and they loved the brand. I mean, we would get phone calls all the time and people that just ordered regularly. So, same with the coffee. I mean, we're young inside the coffee, but those who have found it love it and are like, wow, this is really like impacting how I lead my day. So that's
Uh-huh.
what it gives you the fuel to be like, okay, you got to find a path, you got to drive, and you learn along the way. We made a lot of mistakes with Fitvine,
Mhm.
learn from them. So hopefully, you don't repeat. It's like as you raise your kids, you try
And then,
not to
but what?
repeat the mistakes we made. So hopefully some of the dumb things we did, we don't do again.
Yeah,
But that's part of the fight.
Oh, wow.
absolutely.
Well, what's so great about that? Your loyalty with those
Hmm.
customers. Now you're bringing in this coffee and they know what you stand for, what you did with that wine business. This coffee business is going to do just as great because people believe in you. And like Brandon said, we believe in your
Yeah,
brand
we do.
now.
Amen.
And what I want you to do, Brandon, show the coffee because right next to you, our clients, our viewers are looking and they're not seeing exactly
Oh
what's
yeah,
there.
I want to bring him
So
here.
if you want to explain that where Brandon has it up for everyone to see the two coffees, one in the white and one in the dark brown or black. Can you explain those two coffees for our audience, please?
Yes. Yeah, and they're the exact same with the exception of the white bottle is our latte, which has a little 2% milk. But the formulas are the same, which is 100% hand-picked Arabica beans. So it's
Mm-hmm.
100% coffee. You see,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to knock any brands. We're not like that. But mushroom coffees that are out there, your powdered mixes, typically are only 30 to 40% coffee. They're not 100% coffee based. So we started with 100% coffee. As I mentioned, a proprietary blend of different beans that were smooth and good, good flavor. And then it's infused with ashwagandha, lion's mane, reishi mushrooms, cordyceps, Thai ginger, bacopa extract. So those are the powers of the adaptogens and nootropics that, as we were talking earlier about
Yeah.
kind of that brain fuel and steady
Uh-huh.
energy. And then they're both lightly sweetened with stevia and monk fruit. So there's no added sugar.
Okay.
There's
Okay.
no hidden things in there that you see, natural flavors that, they have allowed whatever toxic ingredients that are in some of our processed foods around the United States that they can hide things in there. So there's nothing in there. I mean, your only other thing that you list, as I mentioned earlier, and I'll make sure I'm saying, is the potassium phosphate, which is a salt. And that
Mm-hmm.
is in there just to help with the acidity. So it's a
Okay.
natural ingredient that helps bring down the acidity. So it's low acid. So it's not going to give anybody GI issues or,
Mm-hmm.
digestive problems, anything like that. But that's it. I mean, completely transparent, clean. Um, and that's a goal is exactly what you're drinking, what you're putting in your body, it's not going to have negative impacts on you. So that's that's all that's in there.
Oh, great. And I know sometimes it comes up when it comes to packaging, what catches the eye. And this caught my eye. Your packaging caught my eye. And how was that process tight for you? Hard or what?
Yeah, packaging is always very tough.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can take any successful brand out there, and typically, what they start with and what they end with is
Mm-hmm.
not the same. I think, went through five variations with Fitvine. Our first one was so bad. We had a Running Man on our wine label, and it was so
Okay.
bad that, like, the first one, the man wasn't even anatomically correct. Like he's running with the same arm and same leg up, which is not.
Uh-huh.
That's how bad our first label was.
Yeah.
We more from there. This time around, were able to partner with an independent designer, and he somehow instantly understood, our vision. I mean, Tom and I will always have ideas, but we're not graphic designers. Like it's,
Yeah.
we can't always convey our thoughts to what then comes out for look.
Uh-huh.
It's been a frustration for us for a long time. Our friend Doug nailed this. Like he understood right away, kind of the vision, what we were trying to do, and
Uh-huh.
the it's got to be a blend of professionalism, but you want it to pop. The big thing for us is once this ends up on a shelf,
Uh-huh.
especially as you walk into your convenience store and you've got five, six, eight, 10 coolers of
Uh-huh.
drinks, whether it's water, coffee, energy, juice, that label has to kind of stand out. So that was our goal is it had to look good, had to look professional, but we wanted it to pop. We didn't want it to just look mundane and kind of blend into
Yeah.
everything else that's out there. And that's tough with packaging because if you
Uh-huh.
get too crazy, then it's like, oh, does that look like a comic book or something? And we went with the wine. When we first started with wine, alcohol is sold in a very difficult structure. It's your three-tier system where you have distributors that are mandated in every state that you
Mhm.
can't sell direct. And, their easy job is to say no. We'd go in, they're like, we don't like your label, we don't like your face, we don't like the name, whatever. It's, until we had the consumers driving it to the stores and they had no choice. Uh,
Yeah.
but, they'd make fun of it, like, oh, you got a running man on this. And you look
Uh-huh.
at the category and you could go in and you'd have somebody start something and then everybody copycats. Like there was a
Uh-huh.
brand that one time came out and it looked like a periodic table. I don't know if it was Charles Shaw or somebody else. And then suddenly
Mhm.
nine of them. Then there was a brand called Butter. Then there's like eight different butters. And there's no like real innovation. So
Mhm.
that happens a lot with consumer products. And we're like, okay, can we get this to stand out but not look goofy or unprofessional? But
Mhm.
it needs to pop. So Doug did a fantastic job in kind of understanding our vision for that. Is it
Mhm.
our final label? Probably not, but it's
Yeah.
I feel like it's in a very good starting position.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I must tell you, I really love it. I love it.
Yes.
And then that green pops out as well. That plus sign, it pops out to me.
Yeah.
Well,
And so I really like this. Uh-huh.
thank
Yeah.
you. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned that because that green is not even our final green.
Really?
Yeah.
The green that we really have is about six or seven shades brighter, almost like a neon.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Part of what you talk about with manufacturing, there's different levels of like paper and things like that, whether you're doing like a label or this is a shrink. So to get to the top level of, I guess, our shrink, you have to produce X amount. I think it's, I don't know, a couple million bottles at a time.
Okay.
Mm. Mm.
So we obviously can't start out with that.
Yeah.
So we'll morph to that. So hopefully within a year, we'll be stepping up that next level of the shrink, which is our label, where then because it goes through a process of like the coloring, and so
Mhm.
the shrink can only handle so many different colors. And this is again not my background. Doug explains it to me, and I feel like I'm listening to a different language. But the next level can handle like I think it's 128 different color variations and there's
Mhm.
all these things. So the green will really pop. So
That'd
Okay.
be
we will
great. Glow in the
100%
dark.
have that. Yeah, it'll be ready by the time we go to shelves. That
Uh-huh.
label will change. So that green is going to be like, I mean, a popping, almost neon green. Uh,
That would be great.
yeah,
Because it glow in the dark, almost like a glow in the
yeah,
dark look. So if you're drinking coffee at night, walk past and someone's at the beach at nighttime and that bottle with that plus is glowing, wait, that's going to get their attention anyway. It got my attention. I love the packaging. I love the drink itself, the coffee itself.
well, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Question for you. What does Vai Dai stand for?
So Vai Dai, so Tom and I, part of our fitness or whatever, I guess, casual surfers will call us. By no
Okay.
means are we any good. And Tom happened to be in Vietnam, and it's surf slang actually in
Okay.
Vietnamese and as well in Portuguese and Brazil, and it means effing awesome. So
Oh,
he
okay.
was heard some locals who was out surfing, and it was kind of like, they were trying to explain it as like, is this real lingo, slang, whatever. So he's like, that's his brain. Like his brain goes in that creative way. He's
Uh-huh.
like, that's going to be our brand. So Vai Dai is kind of Vietnamese surf slang for effing awesome.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Mom, I'm gonna hold you up too much longer. Mark, I've loved having you on here. In fact, I could talk to you for another hour because there's so much great stuff. I like you, man. You're a good dude. Mom, I was gonna go into the lightning round for him unless you had some questions.
Well, you'll probably cover in the lightning round exactly where we can find the coffee,
Oh
and you
yeah,
can send friends and everybody out right now that want the coffee because I love it. And if we say we like something,
I
our
really do.
our viewers tend to follow what we say, or they say, well, if they like it, then let's just go ahead and try it. And so, with that said, if you can tell them where to go buy it today, that
Yes.
would be great.
Yep. You can go right to our website, vidaicoffee.com,
Uh
or right
huh.
on Amazon. So if you just type in Vai Dai Coffee on Amazon, you can buy it right there as well.
Okay,
Okay,
great, great.
Mark, you might want to say your social media handle too as well.
It's the exact same. So at Vai Dai Coffee for any of the social medias, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, or even LinkedIn. If you know, I mean, we leave LinkedIn to kind of more business stuff, but
Absolutely.
it's all the same handle. So it's just at vidaicoffee.com or at.
Okay, perfect. Mark, I'm gonna hit you with a lightning round of
Sure.
questions. I have about 15 of them. So, first word that comes to mind when you think coffee.
Energy.
Awesome. Coffee first or water first in the morning for you?
Oh, coffee.
Okay. Favorite way to drink Ignite Black. So, what's your favorite way to drink Ignite Black?
Straight out of the bottle. Because you can drink it room temperature, you can put it over ice. My wife keeps it in the fridge, but for me, just right out of the bottle at room temperature gives it the biggest flavor.
Okay, okay. Biggest myth about functional drinks.
Biggest myth. I'd say efficacy, because if they're not blended correctly, they're not going to do much for you. So
Yeah.
that's, I'd say, is quality, quality and efficacy of what's in your packaging.
Okay, okay. Best time of day to drink Ignite Black.
For me, morning, afternoon, early evening. I definitely have one in the morning, and then I have one before I go to the gym. I throw in, probably 25 or 30 grams of creatine, and that's my pre-workout.
Hmm.
Okay, that sounds good. Biggest misconception about beverage brands.
Biggest misconception. They're all good.
Yeah, yeah, sure. All right, that works.
Unfortunately, as we know, we don't get the best guidance out of our FDA on our food and beverage products in the United States. They allow somewhere close to 9,000 additives.
Oh
Europe
wow.
Europe allows 300. So
Okay. Oh wow.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
okay. One habit that made the biggest difference in your success.
I missed the beginning. What was that?
What is one habit
Oh,
that
what happened?
has made the biggest difference in your success? One habit you think?
I'd say angry determination that I took out of the ring. Our taekwondo master. It didn't matter if you were hurt. It didn't matter if they were twice your size, whatever. You weren't allowed out of the ring. So,
Okay.
like you said earlier, when we're sitting on a mountain of debt and interest, whatever, not giving up. That's not everybody can do that. It's tough. I'm not trying to pat myself in the back, but it does take a different mindset to be an entrepreneur. It's not for everybody.
You're not patting yourself on the back because it's the truth. I know exactly what you're talking about. A lot of people don't have what it takes, and or when you're hurt, and not to give up and sticking with it. So I commend you for that.
It's like your career. I mean, you can have,
Yeah.
you can go in and do a reading for, 1,000 different movies
Yeah.
or shows, and they'll just keep saying no, no, no. And if
Yeah.
you stop until that
Yeah.
1,001, they say yes.
You're absolutely right. It took me 100 auditions before I booked Criminal Minds, and then they named the character after me, and I was on that for a couple years.
Oh,
So,
congrats. That's all.
Right, that's what I said because
yes.
so many people have gone out to Hollywood,
Mhm.
and you went out there with determination that you're going to make it, and you did make it. And so I love that in you, and I love what Mark said about that too.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you both. Yeah, it's been great. I work all around the United States. We're branching over to London now, so we're doing pretty good with that.
Right.
Um, what is a book you recommend to future entrepreneurs?
Sticky. And it talks about,
Hmm.
brands being sticky, and
Okay.
it's really about, you know, what are you trying to drive? Like at the end of the day, you have to solve a problem.
Hmm.
You know, it can't just be we created this product and great, is it pretty and this and that. If it's not driving a solution for someone, why would they buy it? You know,
Okay.
and take Apple. You know, they'll Apple. I mean, Steve Jobs. You want to talk about genius? I mean, aside of the only other one who's as crazy and as smart as he is Elon. Uh, Steve Jobs would say, "We're going to create products you don't even know you want."
Yeah.
You know, and then so he's solving a problem you didn't even know you had. You know, Sticky kind of gets into a baseline of that. It's like, no matter whether it's a service, whether you're a doctor, lawyer, plumber, whatever, same thing. You're a plumber, you're
Yeah.
going to solve people's problems.
Yeah.
Consumer products, if you create something, whether it's a brand new invention or taking something like coffee and doing something different with it, it has to deliver, a solution to someone's problem. So Sticky
Absolutely.
gives you a very good kind of line of sight of to think like that.
Okay. Thank you for that, Mark. A let's see here. I have one. Sorry. A mentor who helped shape your mindset.
I have a lot. Um,
You say them all. It's okay. Or ones you want to that you can think of.
I would say at an early age was my Taekwondo master. He left Germany during the war, never became a U.S. citizen, came to the U.S., joined the army, fought during Nam, got out and, you know, completely different mindset than the normal. Like, we were probably, if people saw what we went through when we were teenagers, they probably think it was child abuse. Uh, But it was, I mean, he's like your mindset as a warrior,
Yeah.
whether it was in the ring and then take that into life. Unfortunately, I didn't take that through college, but I have taken it through my life through, being a dad, a husband, running businesses. So,
Sure.
that's, I'd say, probably my biggest. I've met a lot of people along the way. Our kind of consigliere is a gentleman named Joe Lazarick, who's kind of been Tom and I's mentor for uh, business structure and money and stuff like that along the way. We
Okay.
had to find creative ways to raise money and make sure we don't end up on the street. But we've had a lot of good people supporting us along the way.
Absolutely. It takes a village. And thank you so much for sharing that too,
Mhm.
Mark. I thought that was absolutely wonderful. Hardest business lesson you've learned in one sentence, it could be, or it could be longer.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the wrong partner. Uh,
Ooh.
we're thankful for the family office we partnered with. It did change our lives and it changed the business, but unfortunately, it was not the right match. And the end of Fitfine is not how we wanted to see it end. It was sold earlier than we hoped.
Okay.
So that's, we had our own investment banker and all our teams, and everybody thought everything aligned. But unfortunately, diligence can only take you so far.
Yeah.
Or um, I'd say we weren't aligned coming out of the gate with what the end goals were, and we didn't flush that enough out. Because at the time when we did it, I mean, yeah, we paid $900,000 in interest at the time, but we were carrying probably I don't know, almost 4 million in debt with our winemaker. Like he was almost playing like our bank, instead of
Yeah.
net 30, we were out about close to 90 days on him. I mean, he was really trying to help us, push through because we had I mean, we were getting inbound calls from Whole Foods, Albertsons, Kroger, Total Wine, Walmart. It was wild. And so,
Yeah.
like, I see what you guys are doing, but, we had to move fast and furious because we didn't have enough capital to keep going. So, that was, I'd say, the hardest lesson learned was not having the ability to fully flush that and it not working out the way we wanted. I mean, they were good people, no knock against him, but not the partner that had we found the right private equity firm or whatever family office that had previously done consumer products, we probably could have tripled the size of the brand.
Holy
Oh,
smokes. Wow,
mm.
that's so powerful. What's your one non-negotiable value as a CEO?
As far as the business or as far as how we operate, or
Which you want to do both?
yeah, I would say after a lesson learned with Fitfine, number one, we'll never give up controlling interest. So
Okay.
we did that raise.
Ooh.
Tom and I gave up, the controlling interest. So we no
Mm.
longer had the majority share of the company. So we'll
Yeah,
never, ever do that again. So if that takes us longer to build the brand, then it will take us longer. Uh,
absolutely.
Second, I mean, my biggest thing, and anybody who's worked with us, or we had a pretty good team at Fitfine. We had a couple dozen people around the country for salespeople, is you've got to work as hard as we do.
Yeah.
This is not a 9 to 5 job. It's not, clock in, clock out, looking at your watch, what time is it to go home. I mean, we expect a lot, but we do a lot. No one on my team will ever, not do something I don't do.
Yeah.
And they, whether I've got somebody on the West Coast or whatever, they email me at midnight, they're getting a response. So,
Yeah.
I don't expect somebody to work 24/7, but I expect them to take ownership of the company like it's theirs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you could place Vai Dai anywhere tomorrow, where would it be? So if you could place it anywhere, where would it be?
As far as a store or as far as
That's a good. I never thought about that myself until just now.
yeah, so, I
Let's
mean,
do
we're
a
talking
store and a
store
country.
or influence or
Yeah. Uh, that's a good. Mom, what do you
pretty
think?
broad. That's pretty broad.
Well, I would say if you could place it with a store or
Okay.
with a people, a group of people, young people, because they are always listening and they're always looking. Where would that be with people, with young people?
Yeah, well, store wise, there's not a single location. That's tough. I
Yeah.
mean, as far as if you're looking at a single source of commerce, no one touches Amazon. But you still have to reach the people on Amazon. So I would say outside of, commerce, the biggest vision that, to then people to find the brand,
Mm-hmm.
that's the biggest challenge. And that's as we look at, you asked me earlier, Mrs. Rush, and I didn't answer. I missed over it, but our initial consumer we feel is kind of that Gen Z to Gen X. So we're talking, 20
Yeah,
to 40s. So where do they find their products? And that's your biggest challenge with marketing. Uh,
that's
whether it's podcasts like this or you're on something like Barstool, or is it billboards, or is it getting into a movie? Unfortunately, there's no finite answer. I mean,
hmm
Brandon, you've been acting for a long time. You mean how many products you see go in and out of shows or whatever?
Yep.
Nothing happens with them.
Yeah.
But then it also takes, you know, I mean, you see the stardom of some actors and actresses that obviously have a lot more power than most people. There's only a handful that can turn brands around, like The Rock or Ryan Reynolds or the Kardashians.
Yeah.
I mean, most people on the planet don't have that kind of power to
Yeah.
change a brand overnight. So placement, I don't know. I don't have that answer.
Okay.
So that's a short answer. Long answer. I mean, this is part of growing a brand. We'll
hmm
touch a lot of things. So we'll do podcasts like this. We recently last weekend we were at a 5K inside a music industry, house music. So there's a gentleman called Diplo, and so
Oh yeah, no different.
all right. So he's a big DJ. He started his own run group about a year and a half ago, and they hit multiple cities. So we're in Miami. There was 10,000 runners, and afterwards he throws a concert for 2 hours. So
Okay.
that's an area where you're touching that age group that are obviously fitness focused and trying to pay attention to what they're eating, and the coffee obviously mixed in very well with them. We're also
hmm
testing some of these big car shows. So Paul Walker, who passed, his
Mhm.
brother and Tyrese Gibson started a big car show that's actually international. Were just in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, called Fuel Fest, and it
hmm
was kind of a celebration of all these his fans coming together. Well, we're doing their show in West Palm,
Heck yeah.
February 28th. There'll be 20,000 people there,
Yeah.
hmm
with cars, whatever. So that's obviously a whole different culture than fitness. So
hmm
these are the things we have to test to see, like, where does the brand gravitate? Last week we were at a book signing for Dr. Gabrielle Lyons, through our partners Biohack Yourself Media.
Oh,
It's different demographic of collaborators come together that are on the medical side of things, that are trying to show different forms of alternative medicine and natural ways of healing the body in these things. And that's a much different, tighter group. So yeah, I don't have an
yeah,
exact
a
answer.
finite.
Good.
I mean, people always say, "Oh, the Super Bowl," but you could spend
Yeah, but
$5 million
Yeah.
but
to
what
put a 30-second ad up, and you don't know
happened?
what that does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But that's interesting because you're continuing to grow and finding out the best places to go. And you don't want to say this is the final answer, because life changes and venue changes and people's desires for certain things change. And so with that, you are changing too, and you're knowing and you're figuring that out. And so that's the process of the great company, to
Well,
Absolutely.
not put a finite on it.
yeah, it's a lot has changed in a very short period of time.
Mhm.
You
It really
know, 2019, we did over 5,000 events for FitFine between
Okay.
tastings like we were just talking about, in-store tastings, small events, big events, today in a very short period, like this newer generation, alcohol sales are way down.
Yeah.
And instead of these big club things, and that's why Diplo started his run club, he's like, they left an event, they went to a club, and all these same people were there, and they're like, we're not drinking. So they're
Yeah.
like, why don't we run a 5K and then have a party in the middle of the afternoon? It was like 12 in the
Mhm.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there's now these things called coffee raves. So instead of, if you remember what a rave used to be and
Yeah.
drugs or whatever else, not my thing, but now they're doing it non-alcohol and with coffee. So
Absolutely.
the mindset of where to find, as you mentioned, is an event or a group or whatever, has
Mhm.
drastically changed in a very short period of time. And it's
That's true.
like, oh, in the 1920s, we used to do this. I mean, we're talking, 5, 6 years. So we have to test and see, what people enjoy and test different events and venues and different occasions of
Mhm.
where consuming their coffee, whether it's at a fitness event, at a music festival, at a sports event. We tried that with FitFine. We had partnered with the Boston Red Sox, Kansas City Royals, the California Angels. You know, Traditional sports is tough. So that's where I mentioned earlier, we signed with Bellamere to see,
Yeah.
does that work going kind of through the UFC crowd? And on the other side of that, the other athlete is the top female tennis player collegiately, Steph Yakoff. She plays for Harvard.
Okay.
Obviously
Mhm.
much different sport. And tennis is kind of almost grabbed. I mean, tennis has always been steady, but now tennis is kind of getting mixed in with pickleball and these other things. So
Yeah.
it's got a
Mhm.
much different grab there. So we have to kind of find our way and see where, people gravitate towards a brand. And, once we do, we pour rocket fuel on it. I mean,
Absolutely.
we'll light it back up where, we have events going every weekend around the country, big, small, medium. So, that's part of the ground game. I mean, that's the tough part about building a business is like you have to get out there. And the old saying is lips to glass. People have to taste the product, be like,
Yeah.
wow, this is good. I can feel how it makes me feel. And then they want to, continue to drink it.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Mark, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm sorry to make this real small. When we launched April 9th of last year in 2025, my goal was I wanted to be able to reach as many people in the world as I could. So I check the analytics every day through our social media, and I love that we hit 18 to 65, but I became obsessed with seeing how many countries we could get, not just the United States. I knew I could get them because we hit 49 states already. I just need Antarctica and I'm good. Excuse me, Alaska, not Antarctica, excuse me. I just needed Alaska and then we got all 50 states, which I'm proud of. But I started becoming obsessed with how many listeners we had all over the world. And so my goal is to get to at least 100. It's going to be hard because some places won't show. Like it's kind of hard in the Middle East in certain places, but like I've been obsessed with that. So I understand what you're saying about wanting to make sure that you're hitting these the age groups and then the different places. But I get what you're saying, basically.
Yeah. And it's, you can point your goals of like, we're going to say it's, a 25 to 35-year-old male, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. But, as you look at things and you want to try and open up your funnel. And, coffee is historically been almost 50-50 for male, female drinkers.
Yeah.
Energy drinks, it's almost like 85-15 male.
I can believe it.
And so we want to pull from that community of like, hey, you don't need an energy drink. So we want to kind of sit in the middle of traditional coffee and energy, but then can we get that to 50-50?
Absolutely.
The same thing was with the wine. We were very female in the beginning, not that we leaned towards it. We just kind of stumbled into the yoga monitor. It was almost like 70-30. And towards the end, we got it almost 50-50. We wanted to see as the young males had moved away from beer and they were drinking seltzers and stuff. Okay, well, they're not sitting down with a can of seltzer at dinner
Yeah.
or out on a date. So would they then pick up a glass of Fitfine? And it
Yeah.
did. We ended up doing some reads with Bert Kreischer
Okay.
and Tom Segura on Two Bears in the Cave, and it grabbed pretty well. So that's same thing. As you look at analytics and we try and pay attention to things, where do things kind of sway, and then as the brand grows, can we test other things to try and open up that funnel? Because I mean, the
Mhm.
goal would love to stay 50-50 because obviously
Absolutely.
that gives you a larger crowd. But we feel like this doesn't have to be male dominated. And that was,
Okay.
to go back to packaging, was a tough thing. Is you want to, can you be agnostic that it's not female focused or male focused, that it's not, one or the other, or, when people would always say this, oh, why was there a guy on the run, the running man for Fitfine? Traditionally, if you look at like female products, guys won't go in and buy them. Women would. Like there was a brand called Skinny Girl back in the day. Not guys didn't really go in and buy Skinny Girl. It was a female focused brand, but women will buy male things.
Yep.
So it's a hard balance in there that you're not trying to push anybody away. I mean, you obviously can't please everybody. Uh,
Yeah.
but as you look at your analytics and your demo and what you're trying to do, and as you try and grab other countries, what are they, what is their, group focused on? What do they
Yeah.
like? What excites them? So it's hard to kind of meander through, but you test, repeat, look at it and analyze and, try other things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One ingredient you refuse to use and why?
Oh God, added sugar.
Okay.
Uh, and whether it's, our latte, you'll see has 4 grams of sugar in it. That's naturally occurring from the milk. But adding sugar or high fructose corn syrup or anything,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the baseline of today's epidemic in this country.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the numbers are now. I think it's almost 66% obesity rate in the United States.
Yeah.
That's because of the failed system of what is allowed in our foods. And it's baffling because you can cross the border north or south in the same ingredient, same product, even if it's a Hershey bar. There's
Yeah.
like 6 ingredients. You grab a Hershey bar here, it's like 45. Like
Mhm.
you shouldn't have to need, a degree in biology to go shopping for food.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating of you take something as simple as ketchup. You go grab a ketchup bottle, it's like corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah.
Those are your
Mhm.
first 2 ingredients. Unless you buy, a gentleman named Mark Sisson who started a brand called Primal Kitchens. It was ketchup is 3x the price of your Heinz, but it's
Mhm.
no added sugar, no chemical, no nothing. There's like 3 ingredients.
Okay.
That's the way our food should be. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where they were decades ago, and that's why when your mom and my mom were, raised, there wasn't an
Mhm. That's
obesity
healthy,
epidemic
yeah.
because there wasn't all this junk in our food.
Yeah.
And so sugar is really, and in whatever form it is, regular sugar, high fructose corn syrup, all the same thing. It's toxic. Like
Yeah.
we're not going to cut corners, and that's part of your alignment of what partners you decide with later on, because too many companies then, they buy these big, big brands buy out other brands and then they change the formulas because their first
Yeah.
is answering to Wall Street and to the bottom line.
Mhm.
And that
Absolutely.
we won't do that. I mean, it's just not, I'd rather close the doors. If you
Yeah.
turn to me and be like, you can take my money, but turn the product into shit, I'll close the door. But not I can't get out and lie. And be like,
Yeah.
it is good for you. Don't worry about it. Minimal amounts of corn syrup are okay for you.
Yeah.
Right. I'm glad. Glad
No,
you said that. I'm so glad.
I'm glad you said that too, Mark. Not gonna get into too long. Just a quick thing. My dad never smoked or drank in his lifetime, and he ended up dying of pancreatic cancer. And I've always wondered, like, how is it possible this man that did a clean life could die? He died at 66 a couple of years ago of pancreatic cancer. And it's like, hey, he never smoked, he never drank. So I appreciate you having those ethical values of being like, hey, let's look at what's going on into this stuff and try to do your best ability to do that. Also, we had a nurse on here who was seeing a high level of children having polyps at ages. I think the youngest age was either 4 or 6, and she saw kids with polyps. And she said, "Brand it's the stuff that these kids are eating and taking into their system." So I appreciate you looking into that with what you said. I just
Well,
wanted
at
to-
that age, it's coming from baby formula. I mean, how many recalls
Mhm.
have been on baby formula, and
Oh no!
you pick up
Yeah.
baby formulas, and they're horrible for you.
Oh
Mhm.
wow! I did not know that.
Oh, it's just, yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, these are,
Mhm.
their brains aren't even developed, their bodies aren't even developed, and you're allowing chemicals and other garbage inside of there. I mean, it's, we could have a whole nother
Oh
podcast
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
have one on it, Mark. I won't make you go down that
Okay.
route.
of the bad stuff on
Bless.
top of, other things like vaccinations and whatever else. I mean, you can really decide with those. But unfortunately, it's Whole Foods isn't the primary thing,
Yeah,
and that's the bad thing. They talk about the most basic thing is shop the externals of your grocery store. Once you go down the middle aisles, you're in trouble because
yeah.
everything in there is bad for you. And that's sad. It's not, you go into Europe and they don't have, 165,000 square foot grocery stores.
No, they don't.
You know, you're not going to your big box store and buying food, to sit for 3 months. It's with the
Yes.
exception if you buy it frozen, like if you're buying meat, like I order from a couple of farms out of Georgia that are regenerative farms and it's shipped to you vacuum pack, independent steaks, whatever. Yeah, it goes from freezer to freezer, but it's
Yeah.
all grass fed, whatever. But you're not going and buying stuff that could survive the next world war.
Yeah.
Not what we're
um,
supposed to be eating.
yeah. Mark, have three more questions for you, then we got
You're
shot.
two. I think it's only two left, Brad.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Mark, what's the biggest wow moment since launching? What's your biggest wow moment you've had since you all launched?
Uh, the biggest one. I don't know. I would say, I mean, even so, last night we were at Dr. Gabrielle Lyons' event, and so being with a large group from kind of the biohacking medical background and their reaction to the product of
Okay.
like legit ingredients that work. I mean, they were blown away. I mean, and the taste because they were like, "Wow, this tastes good." Because
Yeah.
most people, especially in a science background, they're like, "Oh, we know ashwagandha can be bitter on its own." Like that's why a lot of people when they take it in a gummy format. Like there's brands out there they sell
Yeah.
ashwagandha in like gummies because they add a little sugar, this and that because it can be bitter. So I'd say seeing the scientific group and medical group tasting it and experiencing it and their appreciation for it was pretty awesome.
Okay. And then final question. Finish the sentence. Vai Dai exists because of what? Vai Dai exists to.
To change your day,
Oh, I like that.
really, whether it's as a mom, a dad, an athlete, a student, have to get through your 12-hour workday if you are stuck in a cubicle like I hated.
Yeah.
So that's it's really, if we can help get you focused, that obviously then brings down your stress because you don't feel like your brain's kind of, running around. That'd be awesome. I mean, that's,
Okay.
for us, if it can be a daily beverage that people enjoy that actually helps them, that's a win.
Okay. Well, Mark, I just want to say you have been absolutely outstanding today.
Thank you. You guys were
Uh,
awesome. I mean, this was
And
one
so
of the most fun podcasts I've ever done.
Hey, that's what we try to do, Mark. I always ask God to send me the right people so that either we could do the most good or they can be a blessing to us. Either blessing us be a blessing to them or them be a blessing to us. And you've been a blessing to us today because I have loved every single minute of this, of you
Thank
being
you.
on here today.
Same here.
I
It was
agree.
awesome.
I agree. And final thing I want to say is Vai Dai exactly changed my day
It's good.
the moment I read the ingredients as a scientist on the back of the bottle.
Well, thank you.
And tasted it. Thank you so much, Mark, for coming on the show today.
Well, Mark, we always give everyone a round of applause at the end. Just send me the picture you want to use because I'll have this done in probably 2 hours. I'll have it completely done. So
Okay.
if you can just send me the picture you want to use so I can put for your podcast thing, I'll have that. And we're on 12 different stations, so I'll send you all that information.
All right. Excellent.
All right.
All right, Mark. Great
I
job,
appreciate
brother.
it. Thank you very much. This was
Great
amazing.
job, Mark.
Absolutely, man. Hey, Mark, you have a blessed day,
Excellent.
dude. You're welcome back
You as well.
anytime.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
He was excellent, Mom.
Oh, outstanding.
Yes, ma'am. Let's
With
see
a
here.
wealth of knowledge.
Seriously, I am so glad about that.